What's up, Rick? Welcome here to the UEC Rankings League. It's time for another day of action as our groups begin to close out. I'm Infinity, this is Connie, and we're going to talk about Call of Duty Mobile, although a little bit less of it today. We've just got the one best of three for you folks at home, and that's going to be Severity versus All Stars. Before we talk about that matchup, though, let's bring Connie into the conversation. It's time for some COD Mobile. Connie.
I know it's been a while. I think February 2024 was the last time I was injected into this beautiful esport, and then shortly after that, it was the African Mobile COD Champs as well. So I'm still quite a new face in terms of actually getting to know the scene, understand the players, get to know what the dramas are. It is very beautiful to actually kind of observe though on such a regular basis, and very grateful to be back.
Yeah, awesome. Well, it's good to have you back, mate. We're ready to get underway here. Just about of our first match of the day. It's going to be Severity versus All Stars. Let's very quickly ride you guys through the rosters as they come. They're coming in with today is, I believe, Mobingly, Cuban, Stated Secret, and O'Mary. That is basically an entirely different roster to the one that they played with back in week one, more or less. So maybe the Severity will come and surprise us.
Absolutely. I mean, if you're going to drop a whole roster and pick a new one up, then obviously, there's no consistency in terms of where the placement might be. And a complete rebuild off the rip mid-season is almost audacious, but at the same time, I have to respect, behind the scenes, what decisions must have been led to in order for that to happen. So I feel like in terms of where they are placed, it makes a little bit of sense maybe to make this decision.
Yeah, for sure. Well, here's a look over towards All Stars. Then this is a roster that is maybe, I think it's exactly the same, actually. I don't think they've even changed roster even slightly. So Athena, Tenzies, LDSP, ISTP? I think it's an LDSP. Frosty, Lillian, and Tenzies. Of course, Tenzies was a phenomenal player back in week number one. However, it did not help All Stars with their 0-2 loss versus Royalty. So this is an interesting one. We have one roster that, while they looked good, unfortunately did lose their first match of the week, the group, in Royalty. That was an 0-2 matchup to Royalty. But Severity, on the other hand, you've got basically a brand new roster coming in here, and they had to go to game 3 versus the Special Suicide Squad to take that one away, losing, I believe it was the Search and Destroy. So 1-0 for one. 0-1 for the other one, Connie. It kind of makes things interesting for both of these teams. One's effectively fighting for qualification for playoffs. The other one is effectively fighting for the tournament lives.
Absolutely, and it's these kind of table clashes when one is fighting for at least any sort of input in terms of qualification stage and one is trying to stay alive. I mean, there's two different mentalities when you sort of cross paths with these two teams. One is, trying to push for the final bit of gas in the tank and the final sort of extended arm in the tournament, where they're going to be very much honed in on their veto picks, and in terms of trying to exaggerate who the star players are, trying to make the best of them at all times. And team fighting for their lives, a bit more of a lackadaisical approach, and definitely a glimmer of a mental decline, so it would have to be more or less centered around, hey, are we going to be in a really massive deficit mentally in terms of how we approach our opponents from now on? Is sort of all hope lost, or do we kind of have the fighting spirit in there? And those are the two conversations to be had when you're focusing on these two particular items.
Yeah, for sure. Well, look, who knows how this series is going to go. What we do know is the maps we're going to be seeing in this best of three, because they're the same maps that we saw yesterday. It's the same maps across this entire round of play. And we're beginning this best of three with a Standoff Hardpoint. Then we go further into the best of three. We've got Tunisia Search and Destroy and a Raid Control. We saw these maps yesterday, and I don't think we saw too much of anything that we didn't necessarily expect. Maybe the Tunisia Search and Destroy was the one where things were going against the grain. We kind of, generally speaking, expect teams to be winning their defenses pretty heavily. That wasn't necessarily the case yesterday.
Maybe in terms of the last year when I last visited Tunisia, in the sense where we all consistently spoke about how defensively sided it was, teams have started to adapt some very clinical attacking rounds and different break-offs to try and succeed certain implications as to why teams were doing so, strong on the defense. Maybe again the snipers are a bit more positioned in an aggressive stance. Maybe there's more of a bodyguard system where you would buddy 3 players up and then try and secure a certain area of the map where you would hopefully equalize traits. I mean, it really has always played to sort of these levels of adaptation that make it so strong. I mean, Standoff in an opening sense, Brody, though, is, going to be very hard and very fast-paced. That's always been the case, though, in Call of Duty throughout the last 10 years it's been around. And I feel like finishing off in Raid is going to be, at least to my knowledge, a little bit more of a balanced close. We know what we expect when it comes to that map.
Yeah, a Raid, I think, is one of those interesting ones again, because we did see an offense taken away yesterday, I believe it was. And it is interesting because I think, again, I mentioned it very briefly, that Control is the one game mode in Call of Duty Mobile that Call of Duty mobile teams, I think, have taken much longer to adapt to. Of course, it's the one that they'll be least familiar with, because it's the one that took the longest to make its way towards rank play. And with that said, I think, you know, teams have gotten a lot better at control, but some of those problems, I think, are still kind of bearing their teeth somewhat in, like, map control purposes, for example. There's a lot, I think, that raid control we need to see teams get a lot better at. So we'll see whether or not that's the case today, if we even need a raid control, because this could well be a very quick 2-0, and it must be. If you're All-Stars, you need every single point you could possibly ask for, and I think they're going to get it here as we get in our first game of the day, folks. It's going to be Standoff, Hardpoint. Let's see if we've got a close one on our hands.
Absolutely. I mean, in terms of, again, what to expect and what you can imagine.
Hardpoint identified.
Up high. And exactly where on earth will we see the first blood drawn? I mean, when it comes to contests, again, the stuns are really far in terms of severity.
Yeah, for sure. This is a good start coming out from Severity on the whole. They'll be winning the vast majority of the gunfights here, and they'll want to try and keep All-Stars at bay as they're on the other side of the map. Rogue Spawn does come through there from player number 4, so IDSB here actually have an opportunity to try and get some kills. Unfortunately, he does get found out by Stated, and that is a big frag to take early on. Omeri now sat inside the hard point, trying to hold on to the time. Will find a third and final kill in that selection, and unfortunately, even that is not enough to keep those spawns in their way.
Still very impressive from All-Stars from the opening break. The only unfortunate problem, though, again, is the utility is just a little bit sporadic. They're not placing it right on the hard point. They're going for the cut-off lanes to try and stall a push. Whereas in reality, again, on the P1, very close proximity. Anyone can get to the hill in 3 to 4 seconds. And given, again, they're just wiping players off, and the Mine is having a wonderful opener, I have to say, in terms of where can Severity open it up. I mean, again, look what they're on the mini-map on the left-hand side, knowing that the hill, probably forcing a rotation.
Well, kills still looking pretty good here. If you're Severity, Omeri looking for the double, he will find it up top. Frosty, the only one to find any value whatsoever for All-Stars. So now Severity looking for yet another modicum of control of the hard point. Athena not going to run out with those couple of kills, but they haven't quite dealt with all the threat just yet. Still players from Severity inside the hard point, and the boxing gloves come out from Secret for a kill. Lillian, the last one remaining, and I tell you what, fair play to Severity at the moment. They are keeping All-Stars at bay.
Absolutely, Lillian's play in the middle there just to cut off the spawns has pushed All-Stars really far behind. I think any real sort of, you know, saving grace in that instance is just where can we see the players actually position themselves on a closer spawn. Now going in towards Gas Garage, and it's just the way in which we see Severity actually cut throughout the hill. It just keeps them like a little bit further back. It spawns them all the way near the red side. So it makes it more of an opener, but still, in terms of time, a 20-point margin. Severity's first real chance at a hill, and in terms of the P2, very, very, very good.
Well, only 5 seconds left here, so All-Stars will have to be happy with the scrap time. They will, of course, be the first team to touch over by New, and this is an opportunity to walk away with a full 60. Excuse me, it's actually going to be Severity already over by New, an opportunity for them to pull away from Severity in this instance, from All-Stars in this instance. Kills across the middle of the map here for Secret. And, well, that's going to be a selection of kills that do go Severity's way. Now can they actually hold on? Because All-Stars starting encroaching from all sides of the hard point. Lillian attempt to jump up through the front. Going to get shut down by Cuban. And I tell you what, All-Stars, they just cannot get close.
I know, they're throwing so much utility Severity onto the hill, but it's just not connecting. And All-Stars are adjusting well, playing around hay bales and just making sure, again, that there's one player back being the blocker. And that's really where we saw Severity do well on the P2. They cut off the hill and push the spawns further back against All-Stars. But now they've understood the actual strategy at hand here. They're just stacking players towards the hill. We're seeing 3 floated around, 2 on rotation. And in terms of actually, you know, the numbers and the head-to-head situation, there's really no overload for either team just yet. Just better movement so far from All-Stars. And the way in which they just soak up scrap time for the last 3 hills has brought a nice 60-point lead. And all they have left to do now, again, throw nades and stuns, get information, and play off the contact.
And we said we wanted to see a full 60 out of Severity there on that hard point. That's exactly what's going to happen here. So moving over towards New. Once again, it is going to be All-Stars here. Touching first. They need to hold on. Can they? Is the question. All-Stars currently looking for some control over this hard point. You're starting to lose players. Here comes the operators from All-Stars. Is it going to be enough? Tenzies towards the front of the hard point with the War Machine is going to find one, but in towards the hard point, we're already seeing Severity manage to make their way through, and I am frozen. It's all good. We're back. More operators coming out from the Gravity Vortex gun now from Mobley. What can he do? Tenzies finds 3, and that's going to be a massive hold coming through from Tenzies and All-Stars.
Fantastic movement. They're even spamming streaks as well, just to make sure that All-Stars aren't pushing back. And what an excellent 40 seconds accrued. It's just fantastic to see how they are adapting and how they are dealing with the pressure. We are seeing Severity throw stuns every single lane and every single chance to get to spawn up. And with the player pushing out, particularly seeing how can Secret adjust through the middle of the map, is pushing back the spawns again. And this is where All-Stars now are starting to lose control. They've been fighting for the last minute to try and get footing and try and secure spawns, and it's just not worked out so well. Standoff is very punishing in the mid portions, and we're seeing no real extremities being taken in terms of All-Stars and how they can accrue points.
I mean, to be honest with you, at this point, it is just getting broken as easily as they are right now. I mean, that was a good hard point. It's looked all right for them, but outside of that, we've not really seen much of any promise from All-Stars so far in this game. Again, a reminder, folks, they are 0-1 down, so they lose this, they are done. And now already starting to lose more and more gunfights. Kills across the board here for Severity. Hunter Killer Drone out. Won't connect. Posthumous kill actually from Tenzi's does come through. Fast 30 seconds. Might well look good here for All-Stars, but they have to win these gunfights and they have to be aware of those wayward spawns coming through. I certainly don't think they were aware of them. And now that means that while they might have time, it is going to be hot on the heels here from Severity.
They've played so well and they've adjusted to every single instance. They've isolated the kills. And look at the spawns as well for All-Stars. They're just so staggered. You see two players cheating towards the hill, but in terms of consistency, I mean, it really is beautiful to see what can be done and how the players are keeping them far back. There's got a wonderful section through the middle of the map to create a line on the hill, and even on rotation, they're stacking in numbers now for a chance for Severity to actually get some pressure on the point. They've got two choke points to actually push through.
Has to be a hush once again. It has to be a hold coming through from All-Stars, and here they go. Ameri in towards the hard point. Ameri finds 3, just 1 kill coming through, and it's IDSP from All-Stars that will accrue it, but that is a very fast break from Severity. And now if you're All-Stars, you kind of hit the panic button somewhat, and one by one they go, one by one they fall. Once again, it's down to Tenzi's to try and save the day with the War Machine. It's one of the best operators that Call of Duty Mobile has to offer, and Tenzi's is showing that they are competent with it. Follow-up kills also looking pretty good here from All-Stars, so that is a crucial break from Tenzi's.
Fantastic moves, and listen, not a single point actually collected from Severity on that hill. And just to show you again, if we want to see Severity chain a full 60, you know, All-Stars again have got another full 60 on the next point. They are still fighting and they're showing such great composure to identify where things are going to be placed. But look at this from Severity, chucking 4 nades over towards the next hill. They're still relying a lot here with Secret's actual route around the back. It could be a cut off for spawns, given now we are seeing All-Stars more towards Hay Bale, more towards A. They found good positioning and they just about hold on to these spawns. Another set utility barrage, and they're still pushing the lanes.
Well, it is going to be All-Stars in control here for the moment. Might be long before Severity and knocking at the door. Frosty keeping an eye on the back line, unfortunately will end up going down. Ameri has been so successful this game thus far with the equalizers. Not going to have a chance to do anything more with them. So he gets shut down. Not managing to break in just yet. Our Severity, and now on the other hand, it's the other side. It's Athena coming out with the equalizers. 5 kills for Athena, clearing a lot of space for the roster. And I think with 20 seconds left, honestly, Connor, I don't think there's much of a chance here for Severity to take this time away. This has been a clinic from Tenzi's and Athena on that hard point.
It's just a very punishing setup. They read the spawns. They fell in the trap. Severity all pushed through the middle of the map. They had 3 nades stashed away from the respawning players, and All-Stars just kept putting damage on the board. It's just punishing. And now it's forced to get another crucial decision to be made. Which rotation should we take, and how should we effectively do it? Look at this setup, Brody. We've got 4 players on the outside, 1 stacked in hill, and the 4 players on the outside, again, are covering a lane each. They are, again, hoping the trophies can be placed well. They hold on to spawns, but this cut off through, again, the tank side is pushing them out of the hill.
Players that were on the left side of your hard point will actually get shut down here, so this becomes significantly more one-dimensional for All-Stars. Momentarily keeping an eye on the middle of the map. Only 1 player has managed to get past. That was Frosty, and he's been dealt with by Stated. So the kill feed lights up yellow. It's Severity doing what they needed to do to keep All-Stars at bay. Investment now starting to come out in the middle of the map as well. All of it in service of trying to keep All-Stars beyond arm's reach. Frosty attempting to find his way in. It's a wayward kill, but you have to do more than that, and you can't do much when there's a Purifier on the other side. Sparrow from Lillian does absolutely nothing. And despite a minor investment from All-Stars, there is just no breaking that hard point. That was phenomenal from Severity.
This, when you actually look at the scoreboard as well, Severity, they've got 2 specialists, a streak available. I mean, there's plenty of options here, Brody, to exercise at least a nice close. We're going back to P1, and in terms of control, both teams are actually fighting for their fair share. There is no real route onto the site, just one player touches from All Stars. The nade barrage is enough to get them off. The war machine's been pulled out, and when you look at where he's aiming this thing, it's every single choke point towards the hill, closed off, sealed away. 233, a wonderful performance.
Nah, it doesn't look like it's going to get any better here for All Stars as well, does it? Things are just so singular. You can really feel the desperation in the way in which they're hitting this hard point over and over again, one by one. The melee kill from IDSP will do something. Gravity Vortex gun closes off that path, but it's okay because Frosty on the other side will find a couple of kills. So All Stars not done yet, but it really does feel like it has to be perfect from here on out. Kills coming through. Secret and Mary mobbingly completely wipe them out and dominate in game number 1.
I mean, that finish in terms of where did we see what could have happened, I feel like the final embers of that match were summarized by the War Machine. And I must say, when it comes to Severity, there's one thing that I really think that really could be highlighted in terms of their situation. The P3s and P4s were fantastic. Again, there were moments where All Stars looked like they were going to do well. There was a fantastic P2 of a 460 where I feel like in these close quarters, relatively shut off hills, with no thing again, mobbingly. Amari again, fantastic numbers. I mean, 2 minutes in hell for both of them is just simply, again, their system in a nutshell. Those two were glued to the hill at all times, always ready for the overload, and just made sure, again, the guns were up. It was just beautiful impact and just what needed to be done.
Yep, here's a look over towards the final stat lines then at the end of that game. Almost 40 bomb coming out from Tenzies was not enough. It's worth saying, doesn't actually go that positive. Wins just over 50% of the engagements that he's in, but I think if you had to pick up a player from the roster, it was absolutely Tenzies that was pulling the weight on All Stars. Even that, though, again, it just wasn't enough. Despite the moments that we saw from them, they just got overwhelmed over and over again. You can't play a 1 versus 5, and you look to the other side of the scoreboard, and it is pure domination in the kills department from Severity. So, Severity here coming 1-0 up in this best of 3. It's worth saying, spoiler alert, they would have been 1-0 up anyway, because, and I'll tell you this now, All Stars would have been forfeited for that map had they won it. Unfortunately, there is a rule here in UECE, and generally speaking in COD Mobile, where you can only use 3 SMGs in a match, and they used 5. So because of the fact that they used 5 SMGs at any one point, they would have been forfeited for that match.
I mean, that's a way to break the matter. Even break the rules as well on top. Congratulations. I have to say, though, just in terms of would it made a change on the overall map? I mean, listen, there was a lot of pace. There was a lot of chance even as well to get the nade off faster and sprint to a certain location for control even more. But I just think in terms of the system, again, they're relying so much on just headbanging the hill and creating confusion against Severity. I think maybe it was their demise. We saw moments at the start where it was the case, and they actually just sort of were struggling to read where the pressure was, where the players were going to be, even sort of relying on, instincts and pathing and map knowledge to even get through it. But I think Severity, again, just had, more coverage. They had ARs available. And in terms of actually reading the situations well, I mean, in terms of Standoff, their actual setups in the hill and their actual hold positions, very mature. And actually, in the end, the result was always going to be the same.
Yeah, I don't know. I will say one thing. We'll talk positively here for All Stars from that map number 1. In the All Stars, despite the fact that they were getting massively outslayed and continued to lack map control, they still only lost by 70 points, right? They still had a couple of hard points there where they did manage to get full control. So it isn't quite the end of the world for Severity, or for All Stars, excuse me, but still, it's not great that you end up losing that one. On the other side of that conversation, though, the fact that All Stars were able to keep it as close as they did, with the amount of map control, with the amount of kills that Severity had surmounted in game number 1, oh my goodness, in game number 1, excuse me, then yeah, I think that kind of maybe doesn't bode well for them. So something to bear in mind here as we get into the search and destroy. Of course, we are going to Tunisia, and I'm going to preface this by saying exactly what I did yesterday regarding Tunisia. It is a very one-sided map. The defense should win out as long as the strategies are sound.
Absolutely, and the strategies again when it comes to Tunisia are few and far between. I feel like we see more sort of creativity in post-plan situations than any other map in the S&D pool in COD Mobile. I mean, in terms of like the breakoffs, it's easy to predict again, particularly with the Chinese teams, and Southeast Asian teams, even some of the American teams. You know, some of the better snipers, they tend to, again, control the map. Even the shotguns as well have more of a say in terms of where the kills be placed and what the scoreboard will look like right at the very end. But when you're in a post plan, in a 1vx, a 3v3, I feel like the map, again, is a little bit more open, more room to sort of breathe, and creative freedom is, you know, tentatively explored a little bit more. But again, the open breakoffs on the defensive side, very, very predictable. I feel like now at this point now, COD Mobile being out for so long, and as the meta's changed for the last year, we can assume where people are going to go. But again, it's who in which role performs the best. And again, keep your eyes on type rifles and on the shotguns. That's where you will see most of the moves being made.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we'll see whether or not All Stars are able to come back from the brink again. A reminder as to where we're currently at for All Stars. This is Group B of the action, and All Stars losing 2-0 to Royalty back in week number 1 puts them in a bit of a tough spot on the whole, because if they do lose this matchup, they go 0-2. For points, I'm not too sure what that actually means. I think it just means they've got 0 points. The fact that they don't have any wins on the board probably means that they don't qualify unless they do something absolutely ridiculous in the final week. Again, I don't necessarily think it's confirmed. I'll have to wait for somebody from the administration team to confirm whether or not they're out, but generally speaking, in a 14 group, if you go 0-2 in a round-robin setting, it means that your tournament lives are done.
Yeah, it's very rarely nowadays do you actually see a team that's never won progress through, even in some of the more crazy predicaments and sort of, you know, scorelines we've seen throughout these league standings, and even the league format for the last few years. Nobody's ever gone through. If it's a first, it's the first. I mean, congratulations, we're making history here. But I think in terms of, you know, where the silver linings might lie, I mean, on Tunisia again, it's going to be coming down to where do you start and where do you finish. And already again. Yeah, nice little split across the board here for the defenders, but they look like off lanes early, especially B, but the complete hit towards A, and utility early on sets a sign for the first blood.
Looks like early aggression. No first blood just yet. Big fight in the middle of the map. Stated, despite being tagged up, will actually take down probably the most valuable player that All Stars have. So already starting to lose the numbers are All Stars here. They no longer have site control. And I think the next question for me is how quickly does Severity realize it? Stated does go down, so that's something positive to talk about. Maybe IDSP can follow up with a snipe, but no, gets shot through the smoke by Secret, and now any re-entry into the site is going to be a difficult ask.
Fantastic. I mean, wow. Would you look at how the break-off again panned out? I feel like maybe some over-aggressive sets. I mean, a 2v4 on a defensive round, pretty unheard of. Full side control. They've stacked 3 players, one's up high as well with a sniper rifle, and in terms of every exit, you kind of feel like, again, it was a consolation round. But wow, that round was defined by the break-off and the engagements from the first 15 seconds. I mean, utility was thrown again early on from Severity, and the way they capitalized in this fashion was just beautiful. They made sure, again, that they were getting the rewards from mistakes made by All-Stars early on, but the same set pieces go over the top towards A flash to end it as well, and now we start to see Severity.
Here we go, aggression. I feel like there's some serious confidence out of Severity at the moment. They will draw first blood, but immediately traded on out by Frosty. And that's going to slow things up here for Severity. Despite the fact that they've got the number advantage in a 4 versus 3, they don't want to go over aggressive. It's worth saying that the number advantage they had previously did equate to site control. This time it hasn't. Lillian is still got his bum sat on that site.
Yeah, he's not moving and budging. I mean, listen to communication now at this point. You can see the 2 players down on the shop floor on A. Already, again, just trying to throw some utility, get a shot off, try and bait out an early trap. But it's just, you know, such a great discipline from All Stars. It's taking 3 towards the hill. They predict and know where this might be, but the way Cuban's firing the sniper rifle and even the overextensions, very costly. I mean, now need to get 2 kills to equalize.
Yep, you're starting to lose all your players if you're All Stars. Down to Lillian, they've spotted him out as well. He is not long for this world, and neither is that round for All Stars. As now that's 2 rounds on the bounce here. The offense that Severity you're able to steal away.
I mean, listen, it's 2 offensive rounds in a row. I'm starting to see a genuine outclassing here. We already came to context of this map knowing just how strong the defensive side is, how easy it is as well with sniper rifles to get picks early on. Positionally speaking, you got the best lane on A, no one really commits towards B, and this break-off is actually All-Stars again committing 2 towards B this time, but again, the overload is present for Severity. That first blood is drawn, full control on top tower, and it's just Cuban opening up the map in the most spectacular fashion.
Yep, still not done as Cuban. Found a couple of kills, and now it's just down to a couple of players and All-Stars. It's worth saying as well, in a 2 versus 5, you can't really ask for the last couple of players to play this one together. They have to make individual heroics happen. Tenzies, if anyone's going to do it on All-Stars, it's probably going to be him. Cannot get the no-scope off. Sated will punish him, and now Frosty's made his position known on the other side as well. And in a 1 versus 5, facing the world. Frosty will actually manage to find one with the USS 9, but no more than that. Stated will be the one to close out both of those final frags.
I mean, just to convince him right from the start, definitely thanks to Cuban. I mean, in terms of player performance, new positioning well, took control of the site, had high ground, opened up with 2 kills, and it's just panic from All-Stars. They retreat away. They have to try and bunch together to hold in their lives and create an overload, but that's where we just see the strategies again for Severity. They commit early on, all 5 players to one site, and they just overwhelm. The strategies, again, cemented around the nades. They throw one towards the point, and now they start aggressing on.
Well, now we're going to start to see more aggression. Stated for the middle of the map, finds the route to take down 3. Now number 4 as well. Stated cleans house on A-bomb. Just one more player. Tenzies, give him the ace. Why the heck not at this point? Hell of a present. And Stated is definitely on the hunt for it. And if I'm Tenzies, I'm shaking in my wellies right now.
I feel like at this point now, you just sort of give Stated his Christmas gift. I mean, Tenzies is, hats off to him, found the consolation, but all the players now from Severity are closing him down fast.
It's a Christmas gift. I think it might be about, what, a month late or so? Stated might well get it, though. Ace on this left. There we go. Tenzies goes down, and Stated acquires an ace.
I mean, wow. In terms of, hot flush aces, what to call them. Aces in like 5-10 seconds. He took out the whole damn site, Brody. The whole damn site was gone. And in terms of player performances, a different player from Severity steps up each and every single time. And these are the attacking rounds as well. The rounds are not meant to win. They find all these different breakoffs and openings, and they just draw players out into the open. But this time around, we see All-Stars again. I mean, equalize out the trades. It's now a 3v2 with Cuban's final say.
For the first time, there is some kind of man advantage here for All-Stars on the defense. They've actually managed to, I don't even necessarily think it's adapt, just actually win the gunfights. And I don't know if Severity have an answer for this. They seem to be playing in a somewhat puzzled fashion, but finally they might have found it. A rotate towards B, a site that is not currently being watched by All-Stars. They would be able to get a 3-plant through, and it's important to note, Lillian doesn't have a sniper rifle here, so they have no choice but to rush straight towards the B-bomb, try and play up close and personal. Surely has just been spotted out, but no, now he's able to make the play. There goes Secret, the smoke obfuscates him, enough to find the second as well. And finally, some positivity here for All-Stars. They win the opening engagements and send Severity reeling.
I know, I mean, a fantastic way to close it out with the shotgun. I mean, Leland, they're doing his best Owling impression to a degree. I must say, in terms of where we start to see, placing the nades, breakoffs, there's 4, 5 going out right now from Severity, and that's a round again in response to the one they just lost. 4 on the bounce, momentum stopped. They want to pick early on to try and reinstate their momentum.
Once again, trying to garner some dominance over the A site. Tenzi's getting cut down in the middle of the map, though. That's just not helpful. Now your presence on the site is diminished significantly. You find yourself effectively in a 4 versus 2 here, trying to waste some time. The Frosty can make this flank happen, but Leah needs to do something on the site as they go down. That flank, I think, with how slow it has been, becomes somewhat muted. IDSP walks away with 1, but for Frosty to do anything of note here would be huge. And again, ideally needed to stop that bomb plant.
It's just tough. Severity doing all their reclears right now. The one last spot they haven't checked is where Frosty is. Not sure of any utilities left in the belt, but it's already a very clean spot from Secret. He calls the troops now to close him down. And in terms of finishing out the kill, he gets one on the exit. But again, not enough health to, explain why the kill should be taken. 5-1. A beautiful conversion. Severity, 2 rounds away from 2-0ing what has been a very impressive match, but at the same time for All Stars, still a lot to go on here, and a new attacking round. Grenades thrown out high, all crossing over towards A, and information given, but this time for All Stars on Severity.
Utility over the top. It's been a slow start for All Stars, despite the fact that Mobingley's been taken out of the round. But look, this advanced position coming through from Omari. This is not something, generally speaking, that All Stars would expect. Frosties might actually check the corner regardless. He's going to go for it. Little laydown. Omari's seen him, spotted out his prey, and takes him out just like that. Things so difficult here for All Stars now. They're being pushed further and further back. Lillian actually goes for a reach-out here, knowing that getting some map pressure is really the only way out of the situation. And that's the good start that they needed.
I mean, in terms of actually, you know, committing to strategy, we only really see All Stars hoping that they can win the gunfights on A and stick to the plant. They got room here for a rotation, a minute on the clock, and no big play calls yet have been established here in 6 rounds. And they're 1-5 down. They have to find a way to really sort of inject confidence back into themselves and get the series, you know, a good foothold for All Stars. But again, the toy around with A, waiting for the final calls to be made. And on all this time again, we see Severity doing a re-clear around the map and 2 players glued with information already tagged up high. It's just down to 1 player, and it's going to be Lilian.
And again, they know where he is, considering he activated earlier on for 1 frag. So, information is the greatest weapon in the world, and Severity have all of it at this moment in time. Lillian trying to escape with the tiniest sliver of HP. We'll get some kind of regen off, but certainly not enough to be ready for a fight versus a player that's on 12 kills in this game. Now just 1 round away are Severity from closing out this series and remaining flawless in the group.
I mean, when it comes to top of the table, and Severity's performances so far, they want to close it out in the best way possible. But for All Stars, it's just been question marks, it's been inconsistency, and it's just been, you know, tactically inept. They've lost a player, they've drawn a first blood this round, but in all that utility spent, again, Luca's got control of the site. Severity, they have an overload on the west side of the map, and a player aggressing round trying to equalize. But Athena, again, loses a sniper rifle, and that's a player you don't want to lose right now if you're All Stars. You've lost all this long-range coverage.
You've just lost the bomb carrier as well. That's the worst player you could possibly lose, because now you have to send yourselves back. And it's so individual here, the reaction from All Stars, right? I mean, if I'm All Stars, you know you've got to retrieve that bomb. Send everybody to do it, or at the very least, the majority of their forces, because just sending IDSP isn't really going to do anything. Especially when Severity have been winning the vast majority of the gunfights. IDSP is going to try it regardless, and will actually walk away with the bomb. That's a bit careless from Severity. Mobingley is the best chance that they have at stopping it, and actually that kill comes through from ISDP. So now an opportunity in a 3 versus 2 to flip this round on its head.
And they commit towards being, you know, one of the more clear-cut strategies. And it's now we're starting to see the read from Severity and where they can entry. I mean, they got shotguns down low in position again to get more than 1 kill. But in terms of the trades, again, they get the post plant up, they set up a diagonal hold, and it's just, you know, all alarm bells from Mary. A beautiful finish, guns up at all times, trailed on position, and it's another round, this time for All Stars. And they actually, again, committed to a wonderful strategy. I think B, when it comes to their actual positioning, we see them take the site. Unfortunate in the previous round number 3, when they lost to the shotgun and 2 kills, but last round was beautiful, and now as the nades go over towards A, it's more of a spread break-off here from All Stars. Sniper rifle shots being tagged down early through mid, and it's actually a very defensive-looking All Stars. Look very nervous here, all positioned in the back of the map.
I think they're kind of expecting some kind of aggression from Severity, and if that's the idea, they would absolutely be right, considering we did see a little peek from Omari there. It isn't enough to actually punish on. Tends to you have to hit shots here, not able to do so. This is, mind you, the tiniest of margins, the tiniest gaps, and despite 3 attempts on towards Mobingley, will not be able to take that player down. However, they do take down the 1 player that had eyes on the A-bomb. So, Secret down for the count now, 5 versus 3. An opportunity here to win another round.
Great discipline as well on the trigger from Ernie. Gets a player as well to record group up. The scope, I'm not sure if it can actually catch the player. It did, and, well, in terms of the trades, again, Amari's just banging out his teammates for a gunfight. No positional room, but he pulls out the shotgun as well as his secondary. Maybe the opening here could be quite beautiful for Severity.
Now down to 1 versus 2 to try and survive this one as Mobingly will find one. Lillian trade things out for the second. And once again, we find ourselves in a position where All Stars just refuse to die. Another round on the board here, another clutch up.
And this time around, Lucas on the defending side. The team 1 round away from 2-0ing All Stars, and their break-off is spectacular. All towards A. Every single bit of utility thrown from the team. Nades are deleted. 2 stuns left for info checks later on. But ships in the night situation. A heavy commitment from All Stars over towards B with the bomb. And look who's there already. Stated gets a tag and a teammate to follow up as well. An instant 5v3 is not good news for All Stars.
Once again, we're in a situation where 3 players remaining from All Stars are stuck with the bomb. Good effort from Mobingly to try and capitalize in cool game, but it does get shut down. I say good effort. That was perhaps a little bit aggressive, maybe egregious, because now there's an opportunity here. An opening has presented itself for All Stars to come back, but a secret takes down Frosty. I think that reaction here from Severity will try and spread themselves across the map.
And they're really spreading out here now, All Stars. Is it the right decision to be had in a 2v3? I don't know. It feels like any position in the map right now with the overload, there isn't one. It's going to be a 1v3 or a 1v4. They're just so well boxed together, Severity, in this situation. They're rotating players now over towards B because they know, again, if they just hold down 2 players a site, it's going to be an evenly matched overload. And I feel like now they're just really starting to get more of an idea. They've saved stuns for this situation in a 2v4. And it just is more of a question mark for All Stars. Can they get to the bomb site in time with 30 seconds left? We start to see Severity take positioning here for a setup.
2 versus 4. Numbers not in your favor. Snipes from Cuban looking pretty good. We'll find the one. Now ISDP left up 1 versus 4 and not a chance in hell or heaven as it is done so. All Stars crashing out. 0-2 in this series. Now 0-2 in Group B. And if you're on the other side, Severity looking pretty hot.
Absolutely, been top of the group at this point in time. Convincing 2-0 fashion definitely puts them in a good spot now for the playoff phase. And again, seeding matters so much for these groups because you want to have, you know, the best possible route to the final that you can as a team. And again, commiserations to All Stars in the situation. The Hardpoint was relatively competitive up. Severity, and just 2 was placed where, I mean, Cuban and Stated, 2 excellent players, and the sniper rifles again, especially on a Tunisia, showed up at the right time.
Yeah, just a phenomenal performance again from Severity. And, you know, again, there are moments where it looks like All Stars kind of know what they're doing, but I think just generally speaking, on Tunisia Search and Destroy, it's kind of like if you lose your offense, it's like if usually defenses like that, if it was at 5-1, I think at the half, you lose 5 defenses, you're not going to win Tunisia Search and Destroy.
Yeah, 6-1.
That's just the way that that's just the way the cookie crumbles on that map. So yeah, I mean, Severity just the better team. That's it. I mean, that's just the way it works sometimes. Severity, they are very clearly the better team. They look pretty good I think, with their new roster. So that's actually, I believe, going to be it for today's broadcast. We would have had a second matchup, I believe, but I think the Special Suicide Squad, I think, were the team to end up forfeiting their matchup versus Royalty, I want to say, is who... yeah. Oh, it was Royalty the FF to actually Special Suicide Squad. So we don't get to see Special Suicide Squad till tonight, but that does mean they managed to get a win. A much needed one at that keeps them in the competition because now they are 1-1 in this group and are still fighting for a chance to make it to playoffs. Should be interesting to see whether or not they were able to get that done. Their matchup versus All Stars, I believe it will be next week. We'll decide whether they do get through the group. Before we close out then, Connie, any final thoughts?
Thank you again for having me here on UECE. COD Mobile, love you dearly. Great to see the maps again. Great to see Tunisia again, and nothing's changed in a year. Defense always will win. And, you know, again, with a brand new set of players in a brand new league, it creates always different opportunities for new star players to arise, and I'm hoping that as the tournament progresses, we'll find some new breakouts.
Yeah, for sure. Well, actually, Season 6 is coming up for the Snapdragon Pro Series, folks, and there might be some new maps in the rotation. We'll see whether or not there actually is a lot to figure out there. I don't know. This does not be hinting at anything. Don't put me on the COD Mobile Esports Twitter. I don't know anything. I'm hoping we get some new maps to kind of spice things up a little bit, you know, get some get Seaside Control out of the rotation. We'll see whether or not that happens or not, but again, thank you so much everybody for tuning in for UECE tonight. We'll see you next week, next Monday and Tuesday for the final days of group play here for UECE ranking leagues, and then after that, playoffs isn't far, so we'll see you then.